President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have issued an ultimatum to Hamas. Either return the remaining hostages being held in Gaza by this weekend or face repercussions.
I don't want to do 2 and then we do another 2 in another week and then we do 4 in 3 weeks. No. They either have them out by Saturday at 12 o'clock or all bets are off.
The remarks echo a similar stance the president took last night, which Hamas has responded to and dismissed, saying all parties must remain committed to the fragile ceasefire deal in order to have all hostages released safely. The back and forth follows the militant group saying it would delay the release of 3 Israeli hostages on Saturday after accusing Israel of violating the terms of the truce. The King of Jordan is meeting with President Trump at the White House today. This meeting follows Trump threatening to withhold aid from Jordan and Egypt if they don't agree to the terms of his resettlement plan for Gaza. Under the plan, roughly 2 million Palestinians would be relocated across the Middle East. President Trump says the U.S. would then take over the territory to rebuild it. However, the president is now saying that Palestinians who live in the Gaza Strip would not be allowed back once the rebuild is complete. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang is following the latest for us. So, Weijia, the president appears to be doubling down on this plan that has garnered a lot of criticism and lacks specifics. Does the administration see this as a negotiation tactic for the ceasefire? And also, what can you tell us about what the president is now saying about this ceasefire deal, something that his Middle East envoy was involved in the original construction of?
Well, Lindsay, you already laid it out because we heard from President Trump yesterday when he said there was a new deadline of Saturday that Hamas had to release all the hostages or, quote, all hell would break loose. Now, remember, it was the Biden administration that brokered that ceasefire agreement. It took several months, and the Trump administration that helped carry it over the line with Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. And at the time, President Trump praised the agreement, and he said it never would have happened if he had not won in November. But we already saw some backtracking when Netanyahu was here about a week ago, and Witkoff said that it was not a wonderful deal that they signed, that the Trump administration had nothing to do with it and did not set the parameters of the deal, perhaps opening a door for the possibility that it would not be carried out, which is what we are seeing now, Lindsay. So that deal had 3 phases in it. And the third phase dealt with the rebuilding of Gaza. And that is what Trump has focused so much of his time on. But it really is the second phase of the deal that matters, because that is the end of the war. That is the complete withdrawal of Israeli troops, and that is the return of all hostages. And about a week ago, when we talked to the National Security Advisor, I asked him how those negotiations were going, and he simply said they were ongoing. But they apparently have not gone anywhere, Lindsay, because now there is this ultimatum to release all the hostages by Saturday, which Hamas has already rejected. And this is exactly what the Biden administration was worried about, that even though they were able to put this framework together, the question was always whether the Trump administration would carry it out successfully. And at this point, we don't know what the fate of Gaza is going to be, Lindsay.
What have you been watching for as the president meets with the King of Jordan? I imagine this meeting became much more high stakes after the president's announcement last Tuesday of this plan to rebuild Gaza.
Right. Well, I think the biggest question is what would happen to the 2 million Palestinians who are currently in Gaza, who call Gaza home. Trump has said that neighboring countries, including Jordan and Egypt, would take them in. And publicly, those 2 countries, along with others, have rejected that idea. So I was listening and paying attention to whether that has evolved at all. And today, the King of Jordan said that he would be willing to take in 2,000 children who are either sick or have cancer. And Trump seemed to respond favorably to that. But 2,000 children, Lindsay, is very different from 2 million Palestinians. So we just have to keep that in focus, because there was no point where the king said that he was open to accepting a large portion of that 2 million people. What I do think is interesting, Lindsay, is that he said, you know, we have to do what's best for our country, and that he would consult with Egypt and other countries. Well, you were talking about aid just a bit ago. We know that the U.S. supplies about $1.45 billion in aid to Jordan every year. And just yesterday, President Trump threatened to withhold that if Jordan and other countries refused to comply with his vision, which is taking in those 2 million Palestinians. Today, he changed his tune when he was sitting right next to the king. He said, well, I don't think we have to get to that point. I think we'll be able to work something out, essentially.
All right. Weijia Jiang from Washington, D.C., where you're getting a fresh dusting of snow. Thank you so much.